Hi. Thank you for joining.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for joining me for Shell's Pearls of Wisdom. This is my very first couple therapy interview here. This is my version of like the newlywed game. So for all you people that are too young to even know what that is was a game show from way back in the day where newlyweds got asked a series of questions and they held up a piece of paper with the answers on them to kind of see how well they knew each other. So this is kind of like that, but a little bit of a twist just to kind of see how different variations of couples see their relationship from being married for 1 year to 50 years to see kind of like how relationships kind of transition a little bit throughout the marriage. So I am here with the lovely Caroline and the beautiful Jason. We talked about this before. He wanted to be beautiful.
I feel pretty.
He wants to feel pretty. He deserves to feel pretty too. So
That's right.
You're absolutely beautiful. So just to kind of get to know the couple, Jason and Caroline, Carolyn, how long have you guys been married?
We've been married for almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years this August.
Oh, well, congrats early. And
Thank you.
how long have you guys been like together?
About 13 years.
13 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you meet?
We met on MySpace.
We met on MySpace. Thanks, Tom. Yeah. Jason sent me a message, and I thought he was super creepy. And then we ended up meeting, and obviously, here we are.
She likes creepy.
Yeah.
To kind of give you more details on Caroline's creepy, he said a lot of pictures, because a lot of pictures were of him and his ex and their little boy. So he was kind of more like put himself out there as such a family, I guess. And then to have someone like DM you, you're like, what's going on here?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
right.
we all know about the unicorn now. I just learned what that was. I didn't know if the unicorn was a relationship. It's when a couple actually asks for a third person to join in a relationship.
Oh.
So if I would have saw that, I would have thought, yeah, they want me to be in a
I didn't even think about that. I just thought he was stepping outside of his home, and I was like, oh no, I don't think so.
You're like, not today. Not today. Well, I'm glad that was not the case. And I'm assuming, Jason, you probably just didn't have any really good pictures of yourself by yourself. So you were like...
I had just started my MySpace. Actually, my ex had started my MySpace for me. And then we broke up, and I'm like, hey, I need my MySpace password. I was doing,
I love that.
Wanted to connect with some old friends and whatnot. I don't know.
Well, you know what? It worked out because you guys are still together. So obviously... the creepiness wasn't too creepy.
Right.
It says a lot about Caroline. It wasn't too creepy.
That's right.
And then so you guys have children. How many kids do you have?
Yes. We have a 14-year-old, and then we have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh, okay.
And the 14-year-old is the little boy from Jason's previous relationship.
Awesome.
From before we met.
So how is it to be a stepmom?
That's kind of its own challenge. I think that probably anybody who is a step parent knows that it is, it's difficult. It's just difficult. That's like a whole road to go down, but it is tough, and it's a lot of working, and just our whole goal is just to put Connor as the priority for everybody. I think initially it was really hard for all of us, but we've gotten actually really good at just, Connor's what matters. And and we're friends. Like, I'm friends with his mom, and,
Oh, that's awesome.
stuff like that. So, yeah.
She's Auntie Kara to our other kids.
That's right.
So, we have a pretty close relationship for exes. We're pretty tight. So.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That is like a challenge just in its own when you're in a new relationship, trying to blend the families together and make sure that everybody has mutual respect for one another and nobody feels like they are being left out or, they want to feel included still. especially for the other parent who's not in the relationship, because then you feel like, oh, great, now I'm going to be like the third fiddle because they're going to have their unit and I'm going to be outside the unit. So that is really good that you guys are working all together.
It takes a lot of work, just like anything else, but you know, we've maintained it and we've gotten to a point where we're all really looking for the right things for the boy, and you know, we're all close and friendly, and it's great.
Plus, it's an awkward age. 14 is not easy for like just in general to be going through like, being a teenager. Trust me, I got 2 of them, and I mean, like, sometimes I want to pull my hair out by the root.
Right. Someday they will live on their own and be free. Someday they will be out in the world.
One day we hope as parents. One day.
Right.
Okay, so to kind of give you guys out there an idea of what's going to happen with this first part of the interview, it's kind of like a fun little quiz that I gave the couple to answer some questions. They did not share their answers beforehand, so they do not know what the other one is going to say. That's the fun part. We're going to see firsthand how they feel about each other's role in the relationship. I actually took it kind of easy on them. The people that you're going to see afterwards have a lot more questions that I added. So you guys had the easier version. But just to kind of give you guys an idea of how it's going to work. They will close their eyes, no cheating, and I will ask them a question. The question will be usually just a yes or no question, and they're either going to point to themselves or to the other person. So here it begins. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to start with question number 1. All right, close your eyes. Who is the biggest pushover? You know what? I can't see Jason's hand. Is the camera too? There you go. There you go. All right. And then who is the most stubborn? Okay. Who initiates sex more? Who said I love you first? Who is bad with money? All right, out of the 2 of you, who is more jealous?
I don't think that's really an issue in our relationship.
But you got to pick someone. If you could pick out of the 2 of you, who would be the most jealous?
Someone.
Okay. And then who has the worst temper? Okay. And then who nags the most? Interesting. Who is messier? Okay. Who cooks more? Okay. Who cleans more? Okay. Who is the stricter parent?
That one's a tough one.
That was a little bit of that was funny. You guys kind of really cute because kind of did the same thing. Okay, and then here are a couple bonus questions that you guys did not have before.
Ooh, okay.
Who cleans or who is the better kisser? All right. Who is more likely to deal with a spider? Really? Okay. Who has the most exes? Who would win at a game of Monopoly? That was funny. um, who would be the most hungover after a night of partying? And let's see, who's the better driver? All right. And let's see, I have one more in here, I think. Oh, who has the worst handwriting? Okay. And then let me see, I think I had one more question I got. Oh, this one I like. Who's more petty? Awesome. Okay. All right. So the first part is done. You can open your eyes. Some of them were very hilarious because you do a lot of like the both of you are pointing at each other, like they're like, yeah, it's both of us. So you guys are very honest. You guys took some ownership on where you both said it was both of you. So that's pretty honest. I'll kind of give you the deeds on how you guys did with that afterwards. Plus, you'll have it on video forever, so you'll get to see this for the rest of your life.
Yay.
You'll know for the rest of your life how you guys are.
Something to treasure.
You're like, yes. So yeah, so you guys did a really good job. It's funny how some of the questions are answered just because it's kind of typical when you think of some roles in the household, how things are going to be. So when like you ask like who cooks more, who cleans more, you always expect like the woman to be like, oh, I'm the one that cooks, I'm the one that would clean. But you'll be surprised in this day and age how a lot of gender specific roles have been reversed. And now you have like the stay-at-home dads, and you have the men that love to cook and throw down in the kitchen, and or they're tidier than their spouse, and like the girl's the one that's the messy testy. So it's kind of unique to see how even just over the years of like our parents' generations and our grandparents, how the roles have definitely changed and evolved over the years, which I like because I hate just because I'm the woman, I can't do this and I should do that now. That doesn't
We're
work.
very progressive in our household.
Yes, I like that. I like that. I like her face. All right. So another part of this, just to kind of give another perspective into your relationship, are just some general Q&A questions that are kind of like on people's minds when they're getting into a relationship, and what to kind of expect after the whole entire honeymoon phase is over. We all know about that. You get past all the I love you, or I love you more. No, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. To the I want to kill him sometimes. Just a little bit. Just a little. Not too late they stop breathing, but enough to maybe like, take their breath away, You all had that moment where you're kind of looking at their spouse and you're like, yeah, I think I could do it. I could get away with it,
I haven't gotten so far as planning, but
when my girlfriends and I get together, we always laugh because our new girlfriends or our new relationships are like, really? I love my boyfriend. I'm like, yeah, you're not married. If you haven't thought of how to kill them one time in your life, that's not a real marriage yet. Wait till you get to that point. So it happens. So these are some really kind of hot topic buttons. First question I really like to know is, do you guys fight fair? Meaning, there's no hitting below the belt. We don't bring up the past. No one is being petty. That's why I love the petty question. Do you guys fight fair?
I think most of the time we try to.
we operate on avoidance a lot, because a lot of times when you're fighting, it's like in the moment feelings where if you just like walk away, that goes away. And so I think a lot of times when we get mad, there's like a silent period that maybe isn't good all the time, but I think it's some like situations like where there is pettiness or like just as a small day-to-day frustration. Like we have toddlers, like Sometimes there's cereal on the floor, and sometimes there's walk away.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
So you guys kind of go to your corners and you do like a timeout, and you like can come back later and talk about it, or do you walk away and then you never bring it up again?
Sometimes it's not something that's worth talking about. When it is something that's worth talking about, sometimes that even takes time just to, I think, solidify what you're actually upset about in your mind, because something can set you off, and then in truth it's actually like an underlying issue. So when we do end up having those discussions, I don't know, so they take time. It's not necessarily something where you're going to sit down and have a conversation and it's going to be over with.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, you bring up an issue and the person doesn't agree, and then you kind of have to take a little time and come back to it. I don't know. We're always a work in progress.
I mean, that's how it always should be, because I don't think anybody's perfect. I don't think anybody's mastered the perfect relationship. I wish there was a such thing as perfect, but I don't think there is. So,
Right.
With that being said, how do you, Jason, like to, like, if you're going to have an argument and let's say you just cannot see eye to eye, it's almost that like let's agree to disagree type of situation. What would you prefer? Do you like to just kind of like hash it out right there? Do you like to take a break? What is your preference?
I don't know. It's hard to say, because like for me, if I get emotional in an argument, then I have a really hard time articulating my thoughts. So I don't know. It's a little bit of both. It's situationally dependent, I guess.
Yeah. Who's the more emotional fighter than the like fact fighter? Do you know what that means? So you're more emotional and you're more factual.
Right.
I'm the more emotional one. My husband is the fact. Like he's real logical when he fights, and I'm more off of.
Does that make you mad?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna be completely honest, because when I'm fighting, and my husband's so chillaxed and so logical that when I'm all like, and he's just like, I understand where you're coming from. I'm like, wait a minute. Why aren't you caring as much as I care? Because that's how I feel. I feel like he doesn't care as much when he doesn't get as like frustrated or as like, angry as I am. I'm like, okay, well, that means I care more. And I had to learn that that's just his personality as a whole. He's just really laid back and really chill. So he could be just as frustrated or just as angry. He just does not show it as outwardly as I do. So
sure,
I had to learn to recognize that. And it's hard. It's hard to fight with someone who fights differently than you. It's really difficult. Have you guys ever hit below the belt? Just said mean things just because you were hurt?
Maybe a time or two,
yes.
But generally we don't.
I'm trying to like
intentionally
remember.
hurt each other,
Yeah, I don't remember like a specific time. I mean, there's grumbling under the breath, like when I'm folding laundry sometimes, but it's never like directly like insult. I mean,
I don't know. I don't feel like we've ever like intentionally like tried to hurt the other person,
right.
where it counts. You know what I mean? We've never like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's been a time where somebody said something hurtful. I absolutely 100%. I just don't remember. So it obviously wasn't traumatic.
I have a reckless mouth. I say stuff sometimes. I'm a reckless mouth person. Like I was always told by my mom, I have a pistol tongue because I like to just fire off, and I just be like choo 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 choo. And by the time I know the person's like shot dead, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, let's dial it back a little bit.
Like, watch out for this one.
Right. So that's another learning curve I had to learn. That was just being immature. I got married when I was 19, so I was just immature too. So it was kind of like
so young. That's so young. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to just learn to kind of be more mature, and I think that's working for me. Sometimes I go back to the 18, 19-year-old, but for the most part, I try to do exactly what you guys say, like walk away so that it doesn't ever get that bad.
Right.
How do you do when it goes through the children, dealing with the kids, meaning like if there ever been a moment where you guys truly did not agree with a way of disciplining, raising what the kids should do for like maybe a sport. They're kind of still young, so you might not have gone through these trials and tribulations yet, but have you ever had a moment where you definitely wanted this to do XYZ and then he was like, no, I want to do this with them, and have to kind of come to a compromise?
A lot with the older boy when he was younger, you know, we didn't see eye to eye on the way we disciplined for one thing. And sometimes that happens with the younger kids too, where we don't see things the same way. But I mean, generally we try to back each other up and be on, you know, a united front, same team kind of thing.
Right.
I would say 95% of the time we try to like back each other up and be on the same page, at least as far as the kids see and experience, you know.
Let's say you guys come to a moment where there's going to be a future where there is something that you do not see eye to eye on. How would you handle that? How would you want to handle it?
Well, typically for me, if I think that there's something that's happening that for me is like, I can't live with this. Like, I will not go forward in life with this happening. Then I usually sit down and say, like, this is how I feel about this behavior, whatever it is. And this is how it makes me feel. And I don't want to live a life where this is something that's happening. I can't tolerate it anymore. Sometimes like something like that would come with a time frame. Like we have 3 months to basically figure out what we're going to do about it. You know, and we have to reassess. We don't usually get to the point where we reassess, because when you have that discussion, you say like, I can't have this in my life. Hopefully you have a supportive partner who doesn't want you to live that way either, and kind of figure things out. Sometimes you have to go back and talk about it over and over and over again, because it's just hard to get through to people. So, you know, just I would always encourage somebody who is in a relationship where they are living with something like that they should definitely talk about it, because it's your life. Like, don't live with something you can't live with.
Right.
You know?
Right. How have you guys ever, with you guys being together for so long at this point, have any of you guys ever had the feeling of infidelity? Like, that's why I asked the question of being jealous. Has either one of you ever had insecurities with the other one, or either one of you feeling like the other one may be talking or stepping out or even just being flirtatious? How does that feel? Have you ever had that moment?
I would say there was like one spot early on in our relationship that I specifically remember feeling kind of worried. But it was mostly just like she wasn't at home at the time and my brain was going to a place on its own. And yeah, but for the most part, like I have 110% trust in her. Like if we're out separately, you know, if she goes out with her girlfriends for a night, I'm never worried that something's going to happen, you know.
I also had an instance like earlier on in our relationship. One thing that is really interesting, I think about that, is that at the beginning, it's easy to be insecure about somebody else because you just don't know them. And it wasn't like I had been cheated on a whole bunch or anything. It's not like something where I just am distrusting all the time. But it was just kind of this questionable behavior that just made me worry, because it's like you don't know that person. So of course they're gonna, you know, if someone is cheating, of course they're gonna lie to you, of course, whatever. And both of us come from homes where our parents are still together, have been together forever. Like I think that when we got together, that was what we were looking for. We had been that had been example to us for our entire childhood. So I don't know. I'm not a person to ever step outside the relationship that I'm in, just because I feel like if you want to be with someone else, then you should end the relationship you're in. And I feel like he's in the same boat. So maybe in the beginning when we didn't know each other that well, but now, no, I have no concerns whatsoever. I don't take him for granted, just I have no concerns.
Good. Just for people out there that, let's say they do have like those kind of feelings and they're in the newer part of their relationship, because like you said in the beginning, you made a perfectly good point where when you don't know each other as well as you do now, you can have those moments where your mind will play tricks on you. I understand where you're coming from, Jason, where you're like, when she's not home, now your brain has taken over and you're speculating, you're assuming, you're thinking, just because like you just don't know. So your brain will take you to a dark place instead of naturally being on a more positive note. If you are in a new relationship and you suspect somebody of doing something, even if it's something as simple as just flirting, whatever, do you condone a person going through their significant other's belongings, snooping, looking at their text messages, going through their emails, searching their phone? How would you handle that?
I personally have never felt the need to go through her stuff. Like it's comes back to that trust thing. Like I don't have any reason to look through her stuff, and I would feel like she might feel, like maybe I was breaking trust if I were to go through her personal things. There are things that, are hers, her secrets, her private memories and things, like I'm not going to go snooping through her things, and I feel it's like respect, I respect her and I trust her, and combined together, I don't feel that there's a need for me to ever do that.
I have gone through his phone before. I've gone through his phone before. But you know about it. He came home and he was really upset, and then he passed out. He'd been across the street at his parents' house and he was drinking with family, and he passed out, but he was really upset. And so his phone, he kept getting text messages, and I opened it up and I messaged back on his cousin's girlfriend or something. It was like, what happened? So I did like go through a bunch of messages that night. Not like his entire phone, but like, yes. And I've gone through his phone in the beginning. And
is that more just because you had insecurities of your own self? Was it because you just didn't know, you just didn't like not knowing exactly what was happening, so you just wanted to be included? Like why did you do it? What was your motivation?
At the time, we were very newly together. I knew that he was receiving a lot of messages from someone he had previously been with. Mm-hmm. And I was very curious about, this was another time, because I think it was a couple of times. And he was being very good. But that was really upsetting. And then it led to a big conversation. I obviously confessed that I had done this. I think that if you're in a relationship where you feel like you have to always go through that person's phone, there were moments specifically, and then I told him what I had done. But like, say we've been together for 10 years, I was still feeling every day like I needed to look at all of his text messages and stuff. Like, I don't even know what kind of relationship that is, because if you don't trust somebody enough to like take care of you and stand up for your relationship, like, I don't know what to call that.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. No, that makes complete sense, because most women, I kind of did like a little series before, just like women and dating, and just to kind of get into the site, because I was doing it for the men's perspective, because a lot of guys would always ask me like, why do girls do this, and I just couldn't like always talk for every woman in the world. So I was like, these are good questions to ask, and a lot of women admitted to going through a significant other's, whether it's boyfriend or husband, going through
right.
a significant person, their significant others, like emails, cell phone, pockets. If they came home, they made sure that they didn't come home with like telephone numbers from the club, or something of that right. nature. And 9 out of 10
I don't
times,
have time for a boyfriend.
Right? Yeah.
I want to shave my legs all the time.
Yeah. But it's actually perfectly normal. Not that you should do it, but the urge or the need to is actually not that weird or like abnormal. It's just like you said, it's when you don't know the person, and they're never going to, and most of the time as humans, if you get caught in something, you lie. Even if you're not even a liar, because you just don't want the consequences of doing whatever you're doing. So in your mindset, you're like, I want to be honest, but then you're like, I don't want her to be mad at me. And it could be something like super, like not even that bad, but in their mind, they're like, she's going to get mad, she's going to yell. So then you end up telling little white lies. So that's why I like to ask that question too, just for like couples and new relationships. If they have ever done this or have ever had the urge, I don't want them to not feel like they're the only persons in the world who've ever felt that it's
Right.
healthy, you know.
Well, and there are a lot of like men do this too, but I think it's more of like a controlling like paranoia, right? It's like men will have a beautiful girlfriend, whatever, and they'll just assume that because they exist in the world and they're beautiful, that men are just, you know, messaging them and they must be having an affair. And I feel like that's kind of more like
It
abusive.
happens.
She's with me, you know, like we go out, she's coming home with me.
Yeah.
If she goes out, she's coming home. I'm not,
Yeah.
you know.
But you have confidence now. Like, that is something that's beautiful. But when you enter a relationship, for the most part, that confidence has to be built. It's not going to, like, you're not going to walk in there feeling like, oh, I got the prettiest girl in my arm and I know she's with me and she's going to be with me. No, usually it's kind of like, for me, I might have been like, God, he's so gorgeous. And I'm just like, I'm just me. Like, why would he want me over this beautiful girl that's over there? So it's a lot of it sometimes goes back to people's insecurities within themselves. It's not even something that the other person is so much doing. It could have a lot to do with like the person who's just insecure. So
Absolutely.
So another question is, so what is this is a good one. I didn't even think about this one. You guys both have in-laws. Do you guys get along with your in-laws?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. I was wondering how that was gonna go.
In fact, there are times I think my parents might like her better than me. So, you know.
My parents love my husband. I know they like him better than me. I know it. Okay. Another question is, has anybody ever in their relationship ever took a break, even if it was just like, I need to stay at my mom's house for the night, or I need to just, you know, go to my boy's house for the night because I need to get away from you? Have you guys ever needed to take a break from each other?
Well, at the very beginning of our relationship, we were seeing each other for a little while, and then Caroline was concerned because she hadn't felt like everything had played out fully with my son's mother, you know, so she just kind of like, I'm going to step back and let you figure your things out, you know, before, you know, we see what goes on. And it was funny. It was funny. Like, we hadn't been seeing each other for that long, but I felt this huge sense of loss, you know, and then after a few weeks, she got a hold of me, and I'd never expected to hear from her again. And I was in love with her already by then. Like, I knew there was something there, and I wanted to see where it went. You know, she had to be, you know, for sure that that's what I wanted, I believe. So,
right.
You know, it worked out.
Right.
I didn't want to be the in-between for his, like, the mother of his child and him, if they, because they had
You
been
want to be like
engaged.
the rebound kind of?
No,
like,
I didn't want to be that girl they always
Yeah.
thought about. Like, it just was like, no, you need to, for their baby, for their relationship. I thought they were going to get back together. And I was like, I don't want to be the girl that causes fights. So,
Right.
anyway.
Did you guys ever, is this your first marriage? Or you guys
Yeah.
both? Okay. I'm going to cross out that other question because it was for people that if this is their second marriage or not. But this
Sure.
is both your first marriage. So,
Mm-hmm.
So this is a big one. Have any of you guys ever caught each other in a lie, like flat out, and then had to call them on it?
No.
No,
No, that's pretty good.
I don't think so.
I feel like we really pride ourselves in our relationship on being honest and open with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, obviously, if we're going through something and we have to like figure out our own feelings, you know, we might not come forward with those feelings right away. But for the most part, we're all about trust and honesty. You know, like if we couldn't trust each other, like if I felt like I needed to go through her phone, what's the point? You know, I want to be with someone that.
I'm just trying to think. Like, I can't even. I mean, I don't know.
That's good. Trust me.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, that's an A+ in my book. That's great.
Right.
That's great.
We're just too boring. We don't need to lie.
You know what? Boring is not bad. Boring is okay. Another big question that usually couples have is, what is your deal breaker? What is the one thing that if Jason did, I'll ask you one at a time. What is the one thing if Jason did to you, you'll be like, that's it. I can't.
I have 3 deal breakers. One is if he gets another woman pregnant.
Ooh.
2 is if he's physically abusive towards me or the kids. 3 is development of a serious drug addiction and not seeking help. Those are my deal breakers.
Now, with that follow up to that, because you had the 3 deal breakers and you knew what they were, is this because of history with other relationships that you can't handle this, or is this just something that right off the bat, this is just something you wouldn't tolerate?
Seriously, I don't really believe in divorce. I think that when you stand up and say, I'm going to be married to you forever, that means that you're going to be married forever. I think that it's hard to be married. It's really difficult sometimes. There are sometimes longer periods of time where you are just having a really difficult time. I mean, we have toddlers, so like it's not easy right now. Toddlers are hard. Babies are hard on a marriage. It's just hard. But those would be like basically the 3 reasons that I would choose divorce, and they're extreme because I do feel like it would have to be an extreme situation for us to not put forth the work to make it right.
Same question for you, Jason. What are your deal breakers? What is the thing, if Caroline ever did any of these things, I could not do it. I could not be with you anymore.
You know, I haven't really thought about it in a really non-abstract way. You know what I mean? Like it's never really been asked of me either about like what would be like the one thing. I have no idea. I have no idea. I guess I'd know when I got there, you know, like, hey, this can't happen, or it can't happen again, or it's over kind of thing. But I don't know what it is, you know?
That's a really good sign though, because that means that you might not have ever had, a lot of times when people bring up their reasons, it's usually because of an unhealthy relationship in their past as well. Something that stayed with them, they brought in because it hurt them so much in that relationship. They're like, I can't do this again. Like it was that bad. So that's why I asked the follow-up question if it came from like another relationship, like you've already dealt with this. I know I can't handle it. I tried it and it didn't work. So that's why I cannot do it again. So it's kind of like that because a lot of people, they don't realize that they bring baggage from other relationships. They feel like they've moved on and they feel pretty healthy. But sometimes it's way back in the back of your brain, these things, these memories that hold on and you don't even realize you're holding on to it until it happens again. And then you're like, whoa, nope, I can't do that. So
you know what? That's really funny because I've been in a relationship with a very jealous person. And like when we first started seeing each other, it took me a long time to be comfortable, even talking about running into a female former classmate from high school, because my ex would be, if I smiled at a person I knew at the grocery store of the opposite sex, we wouldn't talk for a couple of days, you know, and I could tell she was just angry or jealous that I had even had this positive interaction with another female, you know. So that was like baggage I brought to this relationship, where it took me a long time to feel comfortable just even like interacting with other women in any capacity whatsoever. You know, like I didn't smile at people. I wasn't friendly, you know, and it took me a long time to realize that, hey, she's okay with me being friendly with people because they're just people regardless of being male or female.
Right. Well, you know what? That's a compliment to you as his wife to like let him come out of that shell of being uncomfortable with that, because I'm a real friendly person too. I would hate the fact that I would have to dull myself down so that I didn't upset my partner every time I wanted to say hi. You know, that would have been a really stressful relationship, I would think. I don't think you guys would have survived very long if you would have had to always walk around with that feeling. So it's a good thing that you met someone
and that would have ended up becoming a deal breaker with that former relationship as well. But We don't have anything situationally where I'd be like,
Yeah.
that's a deal breaker. I can't think of a single thing, you know?
That's good. That's a beautiful thing. Trust me. I asked the question. I don't need you to actually have an answer to it. If you don't have one,
I mean, if
that's
she
good.
cut my brake lines, she cut the brake lines.
Well, that's her trying to murder you. I think that's a deal breaker.
That's one. That's one. I came up with
that's
one.
number 4 for me too. If he's trying to kill me, it's over.
I found the rat poisoning, and I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work for me anymore.
Right. I think it's over. Yeah.
I was taking a bath, and he threw a radio in there. I was like, I don't think we should be together anymore. Yes.
Yeah.
If
Lucky
you
the cord was too short.
It's time to leave.
Yeah, I think you're right. Save yourself.
I was like, save yourself. I'll give you my number. We'll have like a little like safety word. I'm like, okay, Jason, I'm not helping you.
Coming to get you.
I'm gonna come and get you. So with that being said, if you could change, and like I said, if there's nothing you want to change, you don't have to say it. But if there's anything that you could change about your partner, like there's just this one thing that's like, oh my goodness, if you would never do this again, I will be so happy. What would that one thing be?
He's waiting for me to talk.
Mine would be just a little
That's
neater.
a smart tactic. You see how bad she goes, so you can see how bad you have to go.
Now, the one thing I wish that was different is just if she was a little bit neater. That's it.
Let's see if I could change one thing. I think I would change.
Everything about. No, I'm just kidding.
You tend to, sometimes he'll have like an issue with something and then will not talk to me. Which sometimes that's okay. Like if we're just, whatever. Today's a shit show, we're just gonna pretend. We'll just wait till it's tomorrow. Right? Sometimes it's okay. But sometimes I feel like there are things that are important that aren't coming up. That I do wish that he could talk about. And I, like we were saying earlier, like he is kind of the more emotional one, and I tend to talk about things like, like a grade school teacher, he gets really mad about that also. But like, I wish that he could talk to me like a grade school teacher sometimes, just about what's actually bothering him, so that we could actually like get to the bottom of things. Right. Yeah.
I call the grade school, you call it the grade school teacher way. I say it's the ABC 1, 2, 3, like dumb it down for me so that it's not so grand. It's just to the point. I don't like it when you do this, because when you do this, it makes me feel like that. And then this is what happens from that. Like sometimes it's really nice to get that clear cut thing. But for Jason and I, we're too emotional for that. And sometimes I feel like I can't give that to my husband because I'm going to get so upset just even talking about it at that moment that it's not even going to come across the way that it needs to be, because there's too much like emotion behind it. So
yeah, I get to the point where I feel like stupid. I feel like she talks circles around me.
Yeah.
And I don't have like the capacity, because I'm emotional about it, of actually like fully articulating a cohesive, thought that comes back out of my mouth. You know what I mean? Like I can think about it, like I can put it into words sort of, or at least enough of an abstract where I know how I feel, but I can't put it into the right words. I just feel like a big dummy sometimes.
No, I totally understand. I can actually completely relate. I feel like I get emotionally stunted in arguments because you're so dealing with like now how emotional you are that you can't even like finish your thoughts because you're so hung up on like how it's making you feel. And you can't you can't have a good conversation if you're feeling the conversation at the same time that you're trying to talk about it. So sometimes you do have to like gather your thoughts, take some time. But for you, Caroline, it has to be really frustrating because you just want to get to the resolution of it and move on so that you guys can do something better from it. But it's hard. 'Cause, like,
I was taught pretty young that when so you know how like when you're really upset and you'll start talking about something and then you start crying and then nobody can understand what you're saying, right?
mhm.
So when I was a kid, we were taught to just say, to speak rationally, I guess, to
Yeah.
exclude emotion from your voice, which is maybe another problem, right? But I have found that, I guess, unfortunately, I think it's fortunate because for me, I feel like I make sense then when I'm talking about things that make me really emotional.
Mm.
But that is like, I understand why he thinks that way. My sister has a similar problem. Like her husband literally just feels like she's like, stop talking to me like I'm a child. Where it's like I'm just trying to withhold emotion so that I can say facts. So because then we can discuss those facts instead
Right.
of me being really sad and like express I'm so sad. Like, you know, it is
Yeah.
what it is. That's just, I guess, it's who he is. It's who I am.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a disconnect. Yeah.
That is something that I think makes a relationship work though, because there needs to be one person who's a calm, collected person, and then you need that person who brings the emotional part to it. So that's actually a good sign because you can bring like the level groundness to him, but then when you're maybe being a little cold about things, he can bring you to the point of like, think about how it makes someone feel. Like, don't be in the moment of just explaining how you feel, that you're not experiencing it too. And that's what my husband and I have a disconnect. Is like I'm actually feeling what we're talking about at the same time when you're just speaking of what we're talking about. And then
Right.
that can make the other person feel almost like I told you before, undervalued because now their emotions are not being basically valued or you're not being validated. And then those are the emotions that we have to go through as the emotional person in the relationship is now we're not being validated to how we feel because you're so calm and collected that obviously I'm the cuckoo cuckoo because I'm crying or I'm upset or I'm emotional while you're over here like talking like facts. And but at the same time, I can actually be grounded by my husband, and when my husband's not getting it, he can actually have more empathy or sympathy for me because he can see how hurt I am, and then that can
Sure.
make him understand me better. So it's not so bad that you guys are opposite because if both of you are emotional, it would be a hot mess. and if both of you were just like real factual, it would probably be a way more boring relationship. So trust me.
We all know both of those couples,
Right. So it's okay that you guys have a little bit of the yin yang thing going on. It's okay. I think it works. And then like one of my final questions I like to ask is if you have each of you will have a turn, but if you can give a pearl of wisdom to a couple who is in the beginning of the relationship, middle, but they are getting through the hard part, what would be your one pearl of wisdom that you would give them?
Are we both taking a turn? Do you have an idea? Because I don't.
Oh, my pearl wisdom is always so depressing.
It's so depressing.
Well, I kind of think so, especially to someone who's like just got married and they're still in that kind of like, oh, we're so happy phase. It's normal to sometimes be not happy, and that marriage is not happy all the time. And it's great to have those happy times because hopefully you can look back at them together when you're not so happy and excited and honeymooning and in love, and remember, why you are where you are. Because life throws difficult things at you, job changes, children that are obnoxious, stress about money, stress about, COVID-19, where all of a sudden everybody's in the same house nonstop. Like just life throws things at you, and sometimes it's not happy, but to always work towards, I guess, you're like a ship rocking on the equilibrium. That
There you go. I like that. I like that. Now there was a juicy question I did not ask, but I'm gonna ask you because you guys seem like a fun couple. How is the bedroom scene? Is it still doing some bomb chicken wow wow, or it kind of like fizzled out?
Well, the kids make it tough sometimes, like our daughter right now. if we don't get to bed by like midnight, we're like, okay, Eliza's going to be down in the bed any minute. She's going to come downstairs.
She's interrupted us occasionally, which maybe is discouraging at this point in life. Very much looking forward to when she sleeps all the way through the night.
I will say this, we are like super compatible.
Yes.
I like
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
It's
That
great.
is a PG way to say that they get bound. Chickawawa is good. That's what that means.
Yes. Sometimes it's halting because of interruptions, but yes, that's a good way to say it. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. So, just to kind of give you guys how you did on the earlier part, so that you guys kind of know where you stand. And you'll have your, at the end of the video, I'm going to actually put this in so that you guys can actually see it in writing because I already typed it up and everything. But for the first question, who is the pushover? Caroline, you said him. He agreed with you. He does feel like he is the bigger pushover.
I mean, she agreed.
She actually agreed. She actually agreed. Who is the most stubborn? She said herself, and you agreed with her that you feel like she is more stubborn. So you guys both agreed on that. Who initiates sex more? Caroline said you, Jason, and then you said Caroline. So, but then when you guys did it on camera, I want to say you guys kind of like did like maybe both of us.
Yeah, it's kind of a give and take, an equal thing.
It's a little bit mutual.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's not bad. I like that. I like the fact that you
Mm-hmm.
guys both take the turn. Who said I love you first? Now this was funny because you said me, but when we did it on the camera, you said it first, Jason.
Ooh, I did no. I said she said it first.
Okay, maybe you just looked the way that you did it. Okay, so she said it first. Okay, perfect. Who's bad with money? You guys both thought the other person you were bad. You said none of you are amazing with it. But if you had to pick the worst one, you guys both picked the opposite person.
I feel like she spends more than I do.
I do, because I do all the shopping for everybody.
Yeah. That's usually how it works. Usually the women
I spend
are the
a
ones.
lot of money.
I'm referring to dresses and shoes and things.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like, I'm not talking about the toilet paper, baby. I'm talking about these high heel shoes.
That's
it's
true.
Okay. It's okay. I have a little bit of an addiction too, so I get it.
Girls.
And then it said, who is more jealous? And it's so funny because you said yourself, Caroline, and Jason, you said yourself.
Because I've only ever experienced that one moment where she like went to, a mutual friend's house, and that was the time I was like worried. And it wasn't really being worried about her. I was worried about him because I could tell that this fellow liked her. I knew he liked her. So it was more of a concern of his, about him than her.
Well,
My
you have a beautiful wife, Jason, so I would be a little jealous too. Right. She's kind of a hottie machati, so I don't blame you for being a little insecure. She is hot.
Mine is he's a tattoo artist, and I know he's cute, and he tattoos all sorts of girls, and like I'm not jealous of him doing something, but I know that these girls probably think he's cute and probably try to flirt with him. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's almost a tattoo artist is almost like a musician.
Because I'm extremely professional and clinical about my job.
It's true. He's very good.
Perfect.
Right. So I'm not worried about him, but I know.
Worry about these little steaks. I understand. That's right. I know you don't got to break it down. You worry about the little stanky hankies. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Ones who think that they might be able to get somewhere.
Exactly. No. You don't even need to do anything. It's the fact that you might try. Yeah, I get
it.
And then the question was, who has the worst temper? You said him. He agreed. He thinks he has the worst temper. But you're the emotional one, so you're gonna have the worst temper. I have the worst temper in my relationship too. I'm the emotional one. Who nags the most? You guys both said each other, and you guys both got that wrong.
No, I said at me. Oh, we said ourselves.
We picked ourselves.
Right.
No, we picked ourselves.
But so did you point? Because I have it over here. Let me look at the thing. Hold on.
I pointed at me.
Okay. So both of you think it's each. Both of you think
Oh,
it's
because
you.
I'm pointing in the corner. I meant this, not
No.
this.
That's what I mean. You guys both think it's you. Like
Okay.
you think that you both nag
Yeah.
each other too much,
Yes.
which I
Yeah.
thought was adorable. So Caroline thinks it's her. Jason, you think it's you.
We
Yep.
both need to just stop.
Yeah. Basically, that's what that means. Is you both need to stop nagging each other.
I actually felt as though she might feel as though I'm the nagger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Most girls are the one that's usually more the naggy one. That is,
Mhm.
you
I don't
Nick
think
takes
she's
more.
naggy ever, really. You know,
Oh,
Look
that's
at
I'm not
that,
like
Caroline.
stop
That
being
gives
so
you the free
naggy.
light to go nag more because he doesn't think
That's
you do it
right.
a
I
lot.
can just really put it on now. Just you wait.
Another cute question was, who cleans more? Caroline said her, and you said you, Jason.
This is an interesting part. This is an argument that happens over and over again, so we just don't have it anymore. Because he likes to clean in the kitchen and do like the living room floor, and then I clean the bathroom and do all the laundry and clean our bedroom. And so he like does clean often, but
You still clean more. Just say it.
it's just different. It's different. We have different priorities with the cleaning. I'll leave it at that because
very
we
political
need to go
answer.
there.
I love it. I love it. I love the political answer. We just do it differently. I love that. That's a very good
different.
It's different. I love it. And then the last question that I had you guys answer was, who is the stricter parent? And that was kind of interesting too, because for each of you, you thought it was, you said yourself, Caroline, and you said, Jason, it depends on what it is. So I guess in your mind, it could be you at the time or it could be Caroline at the time.
Yeah, and sometimes it just comes down to our disconnect in parenting styles. You know, like I'll feel like something deserves a different response than she does. And it happens in situationally with a different child, you know, maybe even a different age group where, you know, it's like, I wouldn't do it that way. And, you know.
Right. Well, this is the $1 million question at the end. With everything that you know about each other now, all the little quirks, all the little, you know, maybe the pet peeves, whatever you know now, because you guys have been in a relationship for a long time, would you, with everything you know, would you still marry this person again?
Absolutely, yes. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, definitely.
Yes.
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 And I asked you guys about the one thing that you would change about the person. Well, what is the one thing that you would never want to change about them? Like if they did anything, please don't change this one part about you because you love it so much. What would be that thing?
Her confidence, for sure. Like she's one of the most confident people I've ever met. And when we first met, that was a huge attraction for me, was just how confident and sure of herself she was. I would never have her change that for a thing.
Thing that I would not
You might get lucky tonight, Jason. I'm just saying. Send the children away. I know it's coronavirus, but send them away somewhere. She all like, no.
That too. One thing that it's funny because it's something that I really noticed about him from the get-go. And one reason, because when we met, actually, he was 27 and I was 21. I just turned 21. So there's like an age difference. He had a child. Like there was all these kind of reasons for me to be like, ooh, get out of here. And he was and still is very like sweet, almost to the extent of being kind of a cheese ball, which at first I was like, oh my God, you know, this guy's so corny. And then I was like, oh my God, he actually means these things. And so I love that about him, that he actually like is so loving to the extent where it's like, oh my God, it's like a sappy movie. But I love that.
Yeah.
I love it
Aw.
because he means it.
I like when that happens. You got all little blushy. It's okay. You love him. Now I want to see you guys kiss. Kiss, kiss, kiss.
I do.
I'll
Oh, yeah.
do. I do again. I'll do
I
it
do it again.
I'll do it again. Well, I think you guys are a lovely, lovely couple. Thank you for keeping it real and telling us like real facts and not just saying like everything's so wonderful. I love him so much. That is just BS. I mean, marriage is supposed to be a roller coaster ride. Otherwise, why do we get in it if they're not fun? You know, it's supposed to have the ups and downs and turns around and all that kind of good stuff. And it would be pretty boring if it was the same thing over and over again every day. So I'm glad that you guys found each other. Try to keep everything like how it is, just with every day getting a little bit better and a little bit more special. And I can see you guys be forever and ever and ever. And I would hope if I'm still around 10 years from now and you guys are celebrating your 20th something anniversary, then we can even go back and see how much you've learned about each other over the years.
That will be fun.
You guys would be almost empty nesters.
Oh,
So,
man.
yeah.
That'll be good.
Found chicka wow wow. I'm just saying.
Thanks so much for doing this.
Oh
I think
no,
it's a lot
thank
of fun.
you so much. Thank you so much for being on, and you guys are awesome. And you guys popped the cherry. Thank you so very much. You guys did great.
You're welcome.
For you guys all out there, thank you for tuning in to my Shell's Pearls of Wisdom. At the end of the video, you guys will see their answers and how they answered honestly on the questionnaire that I sent them. And you guys can take a look at that as well. And for everybody else out there, stay blessed, stay love, and I'll see you guys around. And before you go, don't forget to hit click, like, subscribe. All right, bye. You guys hang on. Don't hang up. Bye.